Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the four-card fights for UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Chikadze. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Martinez versus Guido Cannetti. And how I see this one right here is Guido Cannetti's a tough guy, but he's like pushing, he's in his either late 30s, like 39 or 40, 41. So either way, he's well past his prime, especially for a smaller fighter. And skill-wise, I don't really think he presents the most skills. Like his wrestling, I don't think much of a threat to Martinez. Striking, not much of a threat. And it's his aggression, lack of defense, and negligence of defense will be his undoing. Martinez is a fighter with very heavy hands, very good striking, at least for the level where he's at. And where he really thrives off on is, as far as striking, is catching people being over aggressive. So it's like this a style mismatch. So it's like he's just tailor-made for Martinez. So Cannetti will come in here. Martinez will be clean, be sharp, pepper him up. Cannetti will come in aggressive, trying to reach with his shots, leave his chin exposed. And I think Martinez is going to catch him at the end of his punch, drop him, and finish him off in that first round. So in this fight, I had Martinez via first round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Pat Sabatini versus Jamal Emmers. And how I see this one right here. So you could lean the grappling either way. You could say, oh, Emmers is a better grappler. Say Sabatini is a better grappler. I'm pretty sure most people that feel like they're in the know are going to say Sabatini is a better grappler. But I don't feel like Emmers is that far behind, especially in MMA. Like when you can mix it all up. And it's not like I have to grapple with you. And you also have to get it to the ground to even make it a grappling match. I feel like Emmers can negate or really cancel out the grappling with Sabatini. That he could choose that route and then make it a striking matchup. And I feel like Emmers is the longer, more technical striker. He even held his own real well with Chikadze. I know I could bet my whole life insurance on and all this other stuff that Sabatini would get decimated in a minute if he stood. It's like, not a minute, in a round if he stood with Chikadze. So by MMA math, Emmers is the best striker. But I'm not going on MMA math, but I feel like Emmers is the longer, more technical striker. And he should be able to negate the grappling or, play into it a little bit. And if he play into it, he's not going to be so much a threat to get submitted by Sabatini. I think he'll be right in his comfort zone. I think he's originally a grappler himself anyway. So it's not like a case of this is a striker trying to grapple with a grappler, or this grappler is just like this guy that's on a different tier than him. I think that grappling, like I said, for the most part, whether it's him or other guy who is the better grappler, I feel like Emmers is the one that can choose to just cancel out the grappling and be the better striker. And I think he beats him to a decision. I think cancels the grappling, our addresses are they kind of even out, and then on striking, Emmers it just takes the lead and is able to dictate the striking and beat him to a decision. So in this one, I have Jamal Emmers via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, JJ Aldrich versus Vanessa Demopoulos. And how I see this one right here is I think Vanessa Demopoulos is a solid fighter. She probably has a grappling advantage, but she doesn't. When I look at her fight, she doesn't really look to take it to the ground too much. You might see like one or two takedown attempts to fight, and most times if I goes to the ground with her opponents, like this is like scramble situation, or like might catches a kick, or like I say situational grappling. Not a case where she tries to necessarily implement her grappling too much in these fights. So I wouldn't say she's like a fighter that's looking to take it to the ground, or going to be looking to do it too often, or going to make it much of urgency when trying to go to the ground. So I feel like this fight's going to play on the feet. And even if she does try to go down, I feel like her offensive wrestling is that great, or her takedown offense is that great. I feel like Aldrich can definitely address it. And even if she does get a takedown, I feel like Aldrich will be comfortable enough. And especially, like I said, I don't think Demopoulos will be active with it enough. And even like I said, active or not active, but I'm really leaning to not active with it. I feel like JJ Aldrich will be able to address it. I think Aldrich is just a cleaner striker, and definitely just the more fundamental, and definitely the more polished, and definitely more composed. I feel like Demopoulos is I hit you, hit to be hit, like take a hit to give a hit type of fighter. And Aldrich is not gonna play that game. You're gonna take a hit, she's gonna take a hit and not get hit back. Like she's not gonna be playing that tag. She's not playing tag out. That she's striking. So I feel like Demopoulos is gonna be eating a lot of shots unnecessarily and trying to fire back and then be missing and whiffing. And Aldrich is gonna be able to outstrike her and beat her to a decision. So in this one, I have JJ Aldrich via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, Dustin Jacoby versus Darren Stewart. And how I see this one right here is I feel like Jacoby is just a more experienced, better striker. Like he's as he fought in Glory and fought in these other kickboxing leagues. I feel like he's better in the clinch with his elbows, better with his kicks, a little bit longer. And I think he's a little bit stronger as well, being the more natural light heavyweight. Stewart having fought at middleweight for a long time, so I feel like Jacoby better dictate the striking. Stewart might say this and that. Grappling there, but Stewart has never really looked that great in grappling. His defensive takedown defense, his takedown defense has looked good at times. Sometimes look horrendous, sometimes look good, sometimes look possibly great, but offensively his wrestling has never really been much to really worry about. And Jacoby has been in there with much better wrestlers. As a matter of fact, he might even out wrestle Stewart if he wants to be honest. He's been in there with better wrestlers. So it's not like Stewart's wrestling or anything. His clinch not anything. I feel like Jacoby's better in the clinch. I feel like he's better at mid range. I feel like he's better at long range. I feel like as far as striking, he's been better in every area than Stewart. I think he breaks him down. I think he shoots his legs up from distance, keeps him honest with the jab. On the inside land, sharp elbows and knees. And I think he breaks him down and stops him in the third round. So in this fight, I have Dustin Jacoby via third round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Sam Alvey versus Wellington Turman. And for me, to be honest, it's straight up, this is all momentum picks right here. Well, not all. I'm saying this fight right here is a momentum pick. Because in reality, you take away some of the losses from Sam Alvey, or maybe even just 2 losses, and you put him coming off that draw to Da Un Jung, I would pick him over Wellington Turman. And a lot of people keep saying, Wellington Turman is going to take Sam Alvey down. He's a grappler and whatnot. But, like I said, they're going off momentum too, and I'm going off momentum too, and I'm picking Wellington Turman too, but I'm dragging this out a little bit. But one thing about Sam Alvey, he is extremely hard to take down. And he's been in there with a lot of good wrestlers, and I don't think nobody really has had any success taking him down, at least in the UFC. Maybe in his earlier career, when he was still green, he got taken down. Or maybe on Ultimate Fighter, I feel like he might have got taken down. But as far as in the UFC, he hasn't been knocked down, or he hasn't really been down. I think Rashad maybe took him down once or twice, but couldn't even hold him down. And the other fighters came get him down. They could just resort to walling and stalling and not actual takedown. So Sam Alvey's takedown defense is like solid. Whatever the ratio may say is higher than what it is. He has very good takedown defense. So taking him down is going to be very hard. The Wellington Turman is chinny, getting knocked out twice, and Sam Alvey has heavy hands. But I'm going to lean to Wellington Turman to wall and stall, and also take advantage of Sam Alvey being a slow fighter, or relatively slow fighter, with two left legs, or 2 knock knees, or whatever I want to say about him. 2 left feet, 2 left legs, and really trying to rely on counters and his opponents to walk into shots. I think Thurman will be faster, fresher, be able to land some shots, get in, wall and stall in a very ugly fight, and be able to grind out a decision over Sam Alvey. So in this fight, I have Wellington Turman via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in our prelim headliner in the middleweight division, Abdul Razak Alhassan versus Alessio Di Chirico. So I said it right that time, Alessio Di Chirico. So how I see this Alhassan versus Di Chirico, or Chirico, Di Chirico. Yeah, I'm just butchering at this point. I don't know why I'm doing that. But how I see this fight is, I think Abdul Razak Alhassan is just really a one-round fighter, to be honest, and had never really shown to be anything more. And I think Di Chirico is more than experienced enough to drag him out of that first round, work him, and be longer, be sharper. And he has his own tendencies to try to look for that one big shot. But I think he will be able to find those big shots later on in the fight. I mean, he'll be able to find him early, but I definitely think he'll be able to put him away late in this fight. Like, get him out of the first round. He's more experienced. I mean, he's more than experienced enough to take him out of that first round. He's more than skilled enough to take him out of that first round. He'll have the height. He'll have the reach. He'll be the bigger, larger man. Hassan probably be a little bit heavier hands, quite a bit faster, but telegraphing his shots by, loading up on every single shot, looking for those big shots, and being untechnical, and just being a brute out there. And I think Vinci Turcios starts to, when he tries to load up those kicks, load up those overhands, Chirico starts to meet him with knees, head kicks, and loading him up, dragging him to the later rounds, and then really start finding those real clean counters and taking advantage of a tired Alhassan, and then put him away early in that third round. So in this fight, I have Alessio Di Chirico via third round TKO. Now to our main card, we have in the middleweight division, Gerard Meerschaert versus Makhmud Muradov. And I see this one right here. So all respect to Meerschaert, he's a solid dude, but to be honest, he don't bring nothing for Makhmud Muradov. Muradov has fought better strikers. I wouldn't say necessarily better grapplers at this point, or maybe probably has, but I'm not going to just say it. So I'm not going to say just give it to him so clearly, because maybe I'm wrong here, but all that I'm saying is he's more than prepared for whatever Gerard Meerschaert brings him. His wrestling defense and wrestling offense, he got to wrestle Meerschaert. He can stuff all of Meerschaert's takedowns if Meerschaert tries to go that route. He can strike Meerschaert with his eyes closed. And as this being the case, I think he's going to be able to be too elusive. He'd be picking apart Meerschaert from a distance, landing clean counter when Meerschaert tries to crowd his space, cutting angles, and circling off the cage and just continue to pick him apart. And I think he stops him in the second round. So in this fight, I have Makhmud Muradov via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the middleweight division, Andre Petroski versus Michael Gillmore. Or Michael Gillmore. But I already see this one right here. I just think it's a styles match. You got a striker in Gillmore versus the wrestler in Petroski. And Gillmore is a little like 34, 35, and I'm not really impressed with his skills. He's like by no means a world-class UFC striker. I don't see it. I think in the UFC, he'll be quickly put out. The grapplers will just easily take him down and tap him out. And the strikers will just put on a striking clinic on him and put him on their highlight reel. So he'll be on 2 highlight reels, submission highlight reels and striking highlight reels. So, and best knockouts of 2021 or 2022, however long he stays in here, from what I've seen. He could prove me wrong, and best believe all best luck to him to prove me wrong in the future, and even in this fight. But I think Petroski just too big, too strong of a wrestler, and Gillmore, favorite striker to me seems to be his leg kicks or his kicks in general. And kicks, unless you're not set, they got the hands to really back them or to put that insurance on them with those hands. Kicks are just easy to be caught, drag you to the ground, especially when they're not set up the best. Caught and take you down, especially when you don't these low leg kicks and not really setting them up that well. And he even got caught early against Gilbert Urbina. Urbina caught the kick, took him down, tapped, had control, and it was a relatively real quick, easy fight for him. So I feel like going against an even better wrestler, even bigger, stronger wrestler, maybe not the same submission skills, but I feel like Petroski's gonna be able to take him down, maul him, and like tire him out. With his wear on him in the first round, and then in the second round, rinse, repeat, take him down, and be able to finish him, like land ground and pound, and eventually find that submission, and then tap him out in that second round. So in this fight, I have Andre Petroski via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Kevin Lee versus Daniel Rodriguez. And how I see this one right here. So first off, somebody was saying like, people sleeping on Kevin Lee. I'm not sleeping on Kevin Lee. I'm actually very high on Kevin Lee. And matter of fact, I might be happier if he wins this fight. Like, it proves me wrong, but I don't think that'll be the case. I'm leaning to Daniel Rodriguez in this one. And people bring up the Gillespie fight, but Gillespie not a striker. Like, oh, he did this. Like, people were doubting him against Greg Gillespie. He ain't come over the head kick, knock him out. But Gillespie's nowhere near the striker that Daniel Rodriguez is and probably will ever be. So I don't think that would be the case. It was a wrestler versus wrestler matchup. It turned to a striking matchup. And Kevin Lee caught a nice head kick on Gillespie. But also in that fight, in that little short fight, Gillespie already busted his eye up, had him bleeding out the eye from a jab. So you can have your eye bust up by Greg Gillespie. Imagine fighting Daniel Rodriguez with that jab. You're going to get tore up. And even his brother, like Keith Lee, I guess the whole family can't avoid jabs. Jabs just be picking them apart. I Quinta, every time somebody come with like a long fighter with some decent grappling, he has some issues with them. Well, not I Quinta don't really fall in that equation. I Quinta just has good grappling defense and was able to tire him out or survive and then take advantage of a tired Kevin Lee and pretty much in both fights. But either way, Kevin Lee, when the fight gets tough, he starts to break down a little bit. And now you're going against a longer, taller, probably bigger fighter. I definitely think Rodriguez is a little bit light in the butt. So Kevin Lee, I feel like, can have success with his wrestling. But what happens when Rodriguez starting with submissions, start to work back and, really make him work and then start to stick that jab in his face and fire combinations and start to, yeah, you taking me down, but I'm getting back up. I'm starting with submissions. I'm making you work and I keep sticking the jab on you. I think it's going to start to break Kevin Lee down. And then eventually Rodriguez is going to be able to break him down over the course of the rounds. Then I think he puts away in the third round. Very good thought from Kevin Lee, but Rodriguez been consistent and constantly making him work, constantly sticking the jab in his face, constantly peppering him up and landing combinations wherever he can. Kevin Lee don't have the best hit, but kind of a little bit stiff in striking. Definitely see stiffness in his game. But yeah, over the course of those first two rounds, first round Kevin Lee looked pretty good. He won that round, but at the end of that first round, you start to see him look a little fatigued, a little peppered up. Second round, started to see him fade, and Rodriguez started to pick it up. And third round, Rodriguez kind of stops around the third 3 minute or 4 minute mark in that round to get his hand raised. So in this fight, I have Daniel Rodriguez via third round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division for our tough final. At least the bantamweight side, because they got two parts. They got a bantamweight and they got a middleweight, but they're both going to be on this card, and I'm going to get to that middleweight one next. But so for one half of the tournament finals for tough, Volkanovski versus Ortega, we have in the bantamweight division Ricky Turcios versus Brady Hiestand. And how I see this one right here is I seen both of them on the house. Well, I didn't really even watch the house. I kind of looked back at the YouTube video, and that's all I needed to do. I didn't need to watch the whole series and whatnot. And I don't really care to. Both Volkanovski and Ortega kind of boring, to be honest. But yeah, that's beside the point. But yeah, I watched both of their fights, and to me, it seemed like Brady Hiestand has more potential. Like when I first saw this fight on the card, before they established who was actually fighting on this card, I was like, why are they giving Ricky Turcios this can? But after watching the fights in the house, Brady Hiestand was like a very young guy, like 23, 24 or something, training with all the right people, and making the right improvements, beat the best guy in the house, and Josh Rettenhouse, from what I've seen, at least in that weight class, the best guy in the house. And I feel like he has the best room for a grow out. I mean, the most room for improvement. I think he will make that room for improvement. A young guy and will improving. Turcios is a pretty young guy as well. But from what I've seen him in his losses his loss on the Contender Series and his other fights, I have not really seen any great improvement. He's not the most technical striker. He's not the most technical grappler. He's not making no improvements. No clear, evident improvements. And he's just kind of the same guy out there. And I feel like Brady Hiestand will make the improvements in striking. I mean, Brady Hiestand's striking has definitely been horrendous, but I feel like he can make those improvements in striking. And I feel like he has the incredible skill set where I feel like if he works on it and keeps, evolves in striking, he can stick around in his division. I feel like Turcios is going to kind of hang around, but kind of be stuck in the same place or in and out. I don't really see him going much far because he's not improving. And the skills he do have, it's not like it's anywhere. The rest of it, the top of the division laughing at this guy. Like, give me this guy so I can embarrass him and put him on my highlight reel. That's what the top of the division looking at when they see Turcios. They looking at Chop like, I want some easy money, give me Turcios. I'm not saying it's easy money to Hiestand. Hiestand and Turcios are easy money in the division to the people in the division right at this given moment from what I've seen. And I don't think Turcios is going to evolve, but I feel like Hiestand can evolve. And Hiestand grappling is definitely solid and definitely smothering. Technical, like he's a problem. And I feel like it's going to be the case. He's going to be I think 3x5. That's a 5-round fight. But yeah, Turcios definitely might be able to stop him late, but I'm leaning Hiestand. I feel like he'll make the improvements. I feel like he'll be able to out-grapple Turcios, take him down, grind him out, then eventually be able to secure a submission and tap him out in the 3rd round. So in this fight, I have Brady Hiestand via 3rd round submission. Now as for our co-main event, we have in the middleweight division, Bryan Battle versus Gilbert Urbina. And how I see this one right here is Gilbert Urbina, like I said, I feel like he was like a third of his brothers to make it to the house. He already got knocked out in the house, but the other guy got sick. I mean, he got injured or something, so he stepped in. And now he's in the finale, so he really shouldn't be here. He already lost in the house. He's going against Bryan Battle. I feel like Bryan Battle is longer, more technical on the feet. I feel like he's fought much better wrestlers coming up already. I know Urbina might have better submission skills to an extent than some guys he fought, but also to get even work those, you gotta take him to the ground. So you gotta have some good takedown offense. It's like offense versus defense, and I feel like Battle's takedown defense is much better than Urbina's offensive takedown. So I feel like he can keep this fight on the feet. Then on the feet, I feel like Battle is more technical, more clean on the feet, and that's just as simple as it goes. And I think he'll be able to pick him apart on the feet, not pick him apart, but be able to outstrike and dictate him on the fight on the feet, be able to land clean shots. I think he eventually is able to hurt him, like over the course of the fight. Like not the shots like where he just hitting so heavy that he just knocks him out early, but the shots that weigh on you start to add up, and then eventually he's able to put him away in the 3rd round via TKO. So in this fight, I have Bryan Battle via 3rd round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the featherweight division, Edson Barboza versus Giga Chikadze. And how I see this one right here is, this is a very tough striking matchup right here. I feel like Chikadze has the more not RL experience, but like pure kickboxing experience. It's fresher to him. Edson Barboza did do Muay Thai for a time, and like he's not a fighter that's an MMA striker. He did real deal striking and pure striking, and so did Chikadze. But I feel like Chikadze has done it more recently, and I think he did it at a higher level, to be honest. And going as far as going against Barboza and Chikadze, Barboza is the more well-rounded fighter, is the more experienced fighter, but I feel like Chikadze has been making the necessary improvements in his wrestling and grappling defense that I don't feel like Barboza. Also, Barboza's not like the guy that definitely goes to look to grapple too much. He might mix it in here and there, but he has never had great success with his grappling as far as against relevant competition or even any competition really. He kind of scored a couple takedowns here and there in fights, but has literally never done anything with them. It's like he never took somebody back and controlled him a whole round. He tried to do it against Paul Felder, but got cut up, and probably was the reason why he lost that fight, even though he should have won that fight. But the fact they took it to the ground, he got most hurt when he did take Paul Felder to the ground. When he was striking with Paul Felder really couldn't touch him. Then he took Paul Felder down. Paul Felder I think concussed him a little bit off his back and landed the elbow that cut him open. But and that's the second fight, not the first fight. But either way, ain't too really impressed by his wrestling or top control or ground and pound, so I ain't gonna factor it too much. Striking Chikadze a little bit longer, a little bit taller, and I think he's more versatile in a way. Barboza is definitely dangerous, probably more powerful, got that more quick twitch with his striking. But I feel like Chikadze is more methodical with it. Very good at switching stance. Very good at playing, being a magician out there with his striking. Switching stances, throwing maybe some strikes that maybe look a little bit awkward at first, just to draw you in and draw out your reactions. Then land a clean overhand. Like he's very, like I said, he's a magician out there with his striking. Barboza's kind of fundamental at times. Well, I mean, really a lot of fundamental with his striking. Defense can allow him to be negligent at times with Barboza. Can be chinny with Barboza, but you can't deny the heart of Barboza. But to get to the conclusion one, I'm picking Chikadze to win this one. I feel like he'll be able to be the fighter that be more creative with his striking. I feel like he's been in there with pretty good kickers, and he's very good at avoiding kicks. He's not like these regular flat-footed strikers or like these in MMA or these guys that's just gonna stand there at a hide at range and not like to sit at range so Barboza can just pick them apart. He's gonna be moving. He's not gonna be there just sitting at the end of his punches for Barboza to close that gap and hit him like Dan Hooker. Like Dan Hooker is long, he's dangerous, he's a problem, but a lot of times he gets negligent. He gets too comfortable with his reach that he sits at range. And Chikadze doesn't sit at range. He'll be at range, but he'll also see that you're closing the gap, take steps back, take steps off, and he won't just be there to be hit. So those same stuff that Barboza is able to find on other people won't be there. And also Chikadze won't be the guy that just trying to crowd his space. Like he won't need it because a lot of guys in MMA, to beat Barboza, they have crowded space. Chikadze doesn't have to do that. He can snipe Barboza. He can fight at distance. He can slip those kicks, fire back with his own kicks. He could time those kicks, come with overhands. Like he's gonna be a guy he gonna make Barboza dance, and that's gonna slow Barboza down. And then when the fight starts to slow down, Chikadze's technical what they call it, but those little small technical things on Chikadze, little small little experiences, those little small little advantages are going to start to show up. That's what's going to allow Chikadze to start to break away. Like it can be close, exciting striking matches through early, but around the third round and stuff, or really around the second round late, it's going to start to shift. In the third round, Chikadze going to start to land those clean shots over the top, be slipping kicks, land his own kicks to the body, his own kicks to the leg, extended jab on Barboza. Then around fourth round, he started to have Barboza hurt after landing a clean counter, and I think he's able to put him away in the fourth round. So in this fight, I have Giga Chikadze via fourth round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Chikadze. And as always, thanks for watching.